What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Legendary Rants. This is a No Crumbs Left Behind interview with BGC6 star Nikki G, the prankster. We talk everything BGC6. She spills a lot of tea. We get into her friendship with Lauren, her beefs with Char, Corey, Jessica, all the girls. So yeah, just stay tuned. Don't forget to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Peace. Welcome to another legendary episode of your favorite Legendary Rants. And today we have a special guest from BGC6, the Nikki.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm like a huge fan of your season. I'm a huge fan of you. So like I'm literally starstruck right now. I can't believe you're in front of me. So let's just jump right in. So where did the nickname Nikki come from? Because your name is Nicole. So like where did Nikki come from?
So I think it just came from like playing sports. I think it was just kind of like my like alter ego, I guess, playing sports. Because my dad called me Nikki and my mom called me Nicole, but they weren't together. So I just always like gravitated towards my dad calling me Nikki, and it just kind of stuck.
Okay. All right. So your nickname on the show was the prankster. How did you feel about that?
I wasn't mad about it. It's like we were living in a house for literally 3 to 4 months with little to no internet, very little human communication with the outside world. What you guys see is a glimpse of it, and even then it's all monitored of what we're saying. And it was just one of those things that like I needed time to pass, and it was just going to be fun if you could make something of it.
Right. So can you pronounce where you're from? I know it's New Jersey, but is it Annandale?
Yes, Annandale, New Jersey. So I went to a regional high school which combined like 10 or 12 like little small towns together. So I had a big school, but there were so many towns that made it up. But yeah, Annandale is part of Clinton Township, which is like central Jersey. Even though some will argue that there is no central Jersey, there is a central Jersey.
Okay. And so talk a little bit about the casting process. What made you audition for season 6? Did you audition for a previous season? And were you a fan of the show?
So I had ever actually really seen or heard of the show except for Tanisha Thomas's season, which I think was season 4 or 3, I can't remember. And I just remember being the pots and pans. And I just remember like, what is that? Like that is insane. And so that was the only time I remember seeing it. But I didn't actively watch it. I didn't watch it after I was on the show either. I knew of certain cast members and people that were on it, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm watching this every single week. For the casting process, I actually didn't apply to be on the show initially. I was sought out on Facebook because my profile picture at the time was me playing football. And I guess they were just like, oh, you look interesting. Do you want to come to this casting call? And I'm like, so I go on Wikipedia and I'm like, what is this? And I was like, 7 girls with personalities that get to live in a house. Yes. And that's when I ended up going to the first casting, the last casting that they had for my season was in Philadelphia that particular weekend. And that was the casting that I went to.
Wow. So you did not go to an audition?
No, that was like it was an invite for that specific one because of the person who written me on Facebook. So then I went and I was actually really late for it, like really late.
So did you do a round table with other girls and stuff? Okay. And then so how long would you say was from the time of the audition to you actually starting filming and being on the show?
I feel like it was quick. I feel like it was I can't remember offhand, but it was like as soon as that interview happened, maybe I was contacted less than a week later to go to LA. And then once I got casted to go to LA and do that series of interviews, that was like a 2 week period. And then as soon as you found out like that 2 week period after, it was like really quickly to start filming. Like you like had 5 days. It wasn't fast at all. And I think part of that had to do with they don't want you to tell people and like talk about it, and it's fine. I get that. But no, we stayed in a hotel the first couple of days when we were in LA, just getting like interviews and stuff set up before we moved into the house. So even before we moved into the house, we had been in a hotel for like, God, it was like 5 days. It sucked.
Wow.
It was like a Best Western. I was like, oh, what the really?
So, I mean, you get that call that you're about to be on the show. What was going through your mind?
So it's interesting because I was currently in my last semester at that moment, at my last semester of college. And leaning into my intuition a little bit, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna finish college, or am I gonna withdraw from my classes and just finish in the next semester? I wasn't worried about pushing it back a semester. I didn't personally care. But the issue is that I had to do it by a certain date. Otherwise, I was going to be responsible for those classes from a financial standpoint. So I had to drop by a Friday, like it was the second Friday in September. I remember this. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get the call because they said I wouldn't get the call until the following Friday. So I ended up like the 2 days before that drop date, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I just knew I was going to get it. Like I just knew. And so I ended up pulling from my classes, at the risk of, if I didn't get it, then I would have to have taken an entire semester off and go back again, regardless. And I ended up flying back to New Jersey from school because I was in Denver. And the minute I landed in Denver, I put my little flip phone, my Nokia, it wasn't a Nokia, it was an LG, this red LG that I had back in the day. And I turned my phone on, I'm on the jetway, and my phone beeps and it's a voicemail from an unknown number. And I literally listened to the voicemail on the plane as before I even called my dad to get me from the airport. And it was the call that I had gotten picked for the show. And I was like, yes. I was like, yeah.
So during casting, did you see any of the ladies that you were on the show with?
No, but it was funny because I pay attention to everything. And so I got into one of the Ubers, or not in the Ubers, but like casting takes you around. And there was blonde hair on the seat. And I was like, oh, so one of my cast members is blonde. And they were like, and I was like,
Corey.
I
Look,
can't say
Corey.
anything.
Right. So, you were 22 at the time.
Crazy.
Jessica was 22 at the time. Char was 27, but everyone
Oh,
else
I'm just kidding.
but
I'm just
everyone
kidding.
else was 21. Like, you all were so young. Talk a little bit about that. Like,
It's great. Like when you're 21, you think you're like not young. You know what I mean? Because you're at
right.
the top of the food chain. Like you're like out of college, you're done with elementary school, you're done with high school. And like when you look at it now, I'm about to be 35 in July. I laughed.
Wow.
That was 12 years ago. And I'm like, would I do anything differently? No, I wouldn't have 100%. However, it's a wild time. Like you think you have life figured, you have no idea. Like you're literally just existing in this like weird phase. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like when I look back at like problems that we had at 21 and 22, I'm like, it was your social life. It wasn't like work. You
Right.
like we had food on your table, you had a roof over your head. So it's definitely weird to see. It's weird, because most people have memories of their 22, 23-year-old self, in their head. We have it on a fucking TV show that we get to see over and over again if we want it.
So when was the last time you watched your season?
It's funny. I've actually never watched the entire season. It's in its entirety. Um, I'm kind of weird about that. Like even with my competitions and stuff for bodybuilding, like I have a really hard time going back and like watching film. It takes me a
Mhm.
couple weeks because it's weird. I don't like to rewatch myself. It's just a thing. Like even podcasts and stuff. But the episodes in which I had to be like interviewed for after the fact, like if I had to be like on their after show, we were sent a DVD. For those of you who know what that don't know what that is, no, I'm just kidding. We were sent a DVD, we had to watch it, make sure that we knew like what was being shown on that episode because we lived it, but you're only going to see the edit of what occurred. And I would watch the videos during that time and then would get, played back and have those answers. So I've seen most of the episodes or part of them in some capacity, but I've never sat down and watched start to finish, season.
Okay. So let's just jump right in, talk about the show, talk about the cast. But before we do that, I have a quick icebreaker for you, just to
Oh,
lighten the mood a little bit. And it's just gonna be a little quick game of this and that. I'm gonna throw out two things and you tell me which one you prefer, right?
okay.
So let's start with Housewives of New Jersey and Jersey Shore.
Oh my God, why do you do this to me, man? You're pulling on my heartstrings. Oh my God, I've seen every season of both. This is so awkward. Can I say this of both? But it would be Jersey Shore for sure.
Jersey Shore. Look,
I
Jersey,
love,
bro.
listen,
Look, Jersey,
I have
bro.
GPL tattooed on my lip. It won't go away.
Right. Oh God, I just saw that you and Lauren got those tats. That was crazy.
And fun
Uh,
fact, Samantha, Sammy Sweetheart, she and I like go way back to soccer camp days. We went to the College of New Jersey and we played
Oh
soccer
wow.
together. And yeah, we in our high schools actually played each other. We were in two different districts. But at one of our finals, I was either a junior or a sophomore in high school. I can't remember. We had played her high school, and that's kind of that was like the start of our friendship. And of course, we haven't talked in many, many years. And we're very different people today. But yeah, we played soccer together, and like, yeah,
Wow, she's coming back to the show. I don't know if
I
you know.
know, I know.
Yeah, I can't
I
wait. Um, Char or Jessica?
Oh, then or now?
Both.
Then, of course, Jessica. Now, I would probably say Char, and not because of anything like wrong, just because I talked to Char more over the years, and like a friendship works two ways. You know what I mean? You can like somebody all you want, and even like regular relationships, you like somebody all you want. But if you're
Right.
the one constantly reaching out and there's zero contact or zero attempt from the other person, you can be okay with that, and that could be the way the relationship is set up. But Char, I would say now it's like we reciprocate. We talk on social media. Like it's not there's nothing against Jessica. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. And so with Char, when is the last time you spoken to Char?
Honestly, probably within the last 3 to 6 months. I
Okay.
definitely spoke to her. I know for a fact I spoke to her last September because I was in Chicago for a music festival and I wanted to try to connect, but it was just like where I was staying. I didn't have a rental car. It just like didn't make sense, and I didn't know how Chicago was laid out,
Right.
like burbs versus city. So about definitely less than a year ago, but even more so 3 to 6 months. Whenever her stuff pops up, which I'm sure it will now, thank you, Apple. I always like her, her running stuff and her doing the marathon thing and doing the mom thing, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. She's a mom now. Like,
I
that's
know,
boy,
seriously, I'm a mom. I'm like, what?
right. But you have no kids, right?
Kids, just for babies.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say you have some
I'm
doggies.
not ready yet, man.
Yeah. Oh, Nikki.
It's a responsibility, and like it's like you're never not a mom at that point, and it's like I want to be in a place in my life where I want to be absolutely ready to be like, okay, if whatever the chores or whatever the with raising a child are, I want to be able to do it, and it's crazy. I don't think you ever feel ready, but
Right. And so what about Jessica? Like we see Jessica has no social media. Like, did she just fall off the planet like after
no,
the
reality,
show?
reality TV is hard, especially when I feel that she was portrayed a certain way that really wasn't super indicative of her character necessarily. And that really bothered her, and
What you mean,
again,
the follower narrative?
yeah, like we were really cool in the beginning, and then I don't even know, I don't even remember what was the reason why we weren't friends, but I knew it had something to do with Char. And then as soon as that happened, I just looked at her very differently. And then, it's all good, and we all make mistakes, or we all do things that we might not, might not have done or would have done it again. But she likes her privacy, and I think with her brother coming on the show, that caused a lot for the family. And I think it was more of you already embarrassed us kind of vibe going on TV. Don't keep it up. And
Right.
I get that.
Yeah. I really like Jessica. Like this time rewatching it, I like her more than what
Yeah.
I did. When I watched it when I was so much younger, um, I could not stand Jessica. I'm gonna be honest. She was just a bully to me. But I understand Jessica. I see like a Christina before Christina in Jessica. You know Christina from Mexico?
Yes.
Jessica reminds me of Christina so much, like no talking, straight action, just ready to throw fists. But it's so interesting that you talk about your connection with Jessica because in the beginning we definitely saw you and Jessica were tight.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Again, I think we would be friends in real life too, if we lived in the same city or we were close to, one another. Because I still don't have anything bad to say about her character. There's a lot of stuff going on between cameras 24/7, egos being involved, people making shit up that you're not going to see until 6 months later. There's a lot of that going on, and not everybody could be level-headed to filter through the shit. I could, but
So let's just finish this quick game of this and that, and then we're gonna jump right into the
yeah,
beginning and go through the season. Ashley or Corey?
I don't dislike either. Like make that be known. But again, I talk to Corey far more than I talk to Ashley. I wish them both well. Oh yeah, Corey lives in Arizona. She's like a state away. We're always like in Vegas, like 2 weekends apart or like really close to one another, but never actually at the same time. Um, we talk about fitness stuff randomly. Yeah, and again, these we don't our stuff doesn't pop up all the time on our same timelines. But yeah, no, I would say Corey.
I'm here for the growth because you and Corey cannot stand each other. Y'all could not stand each other. That is amazing, Nikki. Like y'all, I literally just watched like y'all had that conversation at the end, and y'all, it seemed like y'all just like paid each other dust. Like,
It's just we just weren't the same at all. Like
yeah,
at all. And again, that is growth, I guess, is being able to like live under the same roof as people that aren't the same as you or didn't come from the same background or whatever. And she's a mom too. She has kids, a,
right.
a girl, a daughter. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Um, yeah, it's cool.
so. What about Jade or Jennifer?
Oh, Jennifer, hands down. Jennifer's my good.
Jennifer.
Me and Jen are really good friends.
What? Look,
Oh
you
yeah.
done made up with all your enemies.
Here's the thing. We did even at the reunion, when you watch the reunion, no one was mad at me. And
No, I just saw
Even
that.
Char said it. Char was like, bro, Nikki was the same since day one. And I was like, yes, I was. Like, I told you exactly how I felt about you to your face that I would say to this person, this person. It wasn't like, like, who has time for that? Like,
Yeah,
you're going to get found out. Just be
right,
honest.
right.
So, Jen and I, we reconnected probably about 2 summers ago. At a Vegas trip again. Vegas is great. Reconnections. Everybody's like happy and in a good mood. And then we have just really been in touch since then. She floats back and forth between Jersey and Miami, and we see each other when we can. But yeah, we definitely talk quite often.
Okay. Um, what about Jets or Giants?
Jets.
Jets.
Yeah. See, my hesitation wasn't because of the team. My hesitation was because it's organized sports, and organized sports are all rigged. So at the end of the day, I don't fucking have an opinion because you're just paying into a pool of people that are getting overpaid for doing really nothing,
I've
truthfully.
been to a Jets game. I've never been to a Giants game. So
Yeah.
shout out to Jets. I had so much fun. It
Shout
was
out
super
to Jets.
cold, but I enjoyed myself.
Listen, I really liked them when they had Tebow on their team. I had one of the first Tebow jerseys because I was like, listen, you guys are trying to get rid of Tebow for being who he is, and it's funny. It's like
Right,
a man who like believes in God and is outward about it. You're trying to slander him. Okay.
right. Okay, what about Nets or Knicks?
Oh, Knicks for sure.
Knicks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's just jump right into the season. So, season 6 debuted to 1.71 million viewers. The first episode comes out, the cast is released. What was running through your head?
I was like, oh my God, that's like totally me. Like it was like the first. I was like, that's so weird. And like, remember, I had to go back to college, so I was in school for my last semester when this was airing. So I would like sit in class and be like, people would be like, so question. I'm like, I'm trying not to fail. Like literally, I'm like, please, let me just pay attention. But yeah, no, it was surreal. It was exciting. It was cool to see. And that was really before reality TV was like just so inundated with our televisions, truthfully. It was right about a year or two before that boom. And it was just cool to see like the reach and how people like had watched so many seasons, and it was surreal and weird and cool. But yeah, that's how I felt.
Okay. And so the first lady you met was Char, right? You two were in the house by yourself, but you guys were not privy to Jessica and Corey coming before you all, right? And so what was your interaction with Char like? Were you guys vibing? Just share your thoughts.
My initial thought was I knew she was going to have a loud mouth. I knew. I just knew immediately that we would ultimately butt heads. She seemed like a very strong, independent uh, person. Uh, and I don't have problems with being friends with people like that at all because I myself am the same way. But I just knew we were not going to be close. I was going to be cordial, but we were not going to be close.
Okay. That's super interesting because you and Char just don't seem like in the house or in real life, you two would have much in common.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like,
right. It's what makes the world spin, right?
totally, everyone wants a square peg round, and we should get along. No, if you don't like something or you don't prefer something, or if something is not worth your time to go out of your way to do X, Y, and Z, don't fucking do it. Like
Right.
everybody like, oh, I'm mad at this person. Why are you mad? You chose to go and hang out with them. Like,
Right.
so you know.
So y'all meet and then Jessica and Corey come back. What was the vibes? It seemed like you guys were trying to start a little squad to go against the other three, like, and it was led by you. What was going through your mind?
Man, I wish I could tell you. I was so drunk, I don't remember shit. Like, I don't even know where that came from. I was like, looking back at it, I'm like, did something happen? Were we like gonna fight him? Like, get
Right.
into the house, like take their suitcase? What? No, I don't know. I think we were just getting ready for like if they came back. Because of course, if you go out with a group of people on your first night, you guys are bonding, you're doing stuff, you're gonna come back potentially with an attitude. My first thought was it was Bad Girls Club. You're going to come back with an attitude or a tiff, and I'm not gonna like it's not gonna be like, oh, I can't wait for you to come back. You're
Right.
gonna face it. Like I better be ready.
Mhm.
And sure enough, I was. But yeah, no, I didn't dislike anybody that I met the first night, I think, except for Jade, technically. Um, there's one scene that you guys don't see that we're like at one point just sitting on the stairs eating like sandwiches, but it was just like the loaf of bread and like the deli meat and like no spoon for the mayonnaise. Like we're just like sitting there like dunking and just like drunk eating. Like we had a good time, but you don't see that.
Right. And so, I mean, you brought up Jay, so let's go and talk about it. What was the issue? Like, I mean, we saw Jay was drunk. Jay, Sydney, and Lauren, they had went to the club. They got a little hammered. They came back. Lauren and Sydney introduced themselves. They were nice. They were hospitable. But Jay seemed a little rude. She seemed like she had a emergency rush into to the bathroom. But you didn't let that slide. Was it how Jay presented herself in the beginning, or like what was the issue?
I don't even know. I feel like it was exactly kind of what you said. It was more of like we were all like being really like, hey, nice to meet you, and happy, yada yada yada. Where'd you guys go? Nice, who are you? What do you do? What's your name? And then she was the only one that was like, I'm too important. I need to walk away. And we're like, huh? And I was like, no, you don't. You're on
Right,
the side as we all are. Like, you're gonna come back. I
right. And so let's talk about Jay leaving and just gone past that up. How long was Jade in the house?
feel like it was about a week.
So it was a week because they made it
No,
seem
it
like it
wasn't.
was,
And hold on, it was long. It was shorter than that. I don't feel like it hit 5 days.
but it was definitely more than like 3 days for sure.
It was like three, but I don't think it was more than five.
Okay. Oh, that's still pretty quick. You
Yeah,
gotta
no,
up out of there, Nikki.
I mean, listen, it's an opportunity. Like I was like so hardcore. I was like, this is a gift. We should all be thankful. Like, what the fuck? Who cares? No, and I think I just wanted everybody to be like excited to be there. Like, I don't want to waste time on TV being like, oh, you should stay. What? Like, think of all the opportunities that are gonna come from it. Like, you knew this. You went through the
Yeah.
same process as us. So why do you
Yeah.
think that we're gonna sit here and be like, oh my god, like you get all this extra pushes and you should go home. Give it somebody else an opportunity who wants to be here. Let us have fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's understandable. I don't know what Jay would have gave the season, but knowing what came with the replacements, I wonder if you regret sending Jade home.
Not
You
at all.
don't? Not at all? Okay. Well, hey, it made for a great season. She was beautiful. I loved her outfit,
Yes.
but she just didn't seem bad. Like,
She was bad in her own way, and I respect that, and her what how she got there. I just think she didn't have that much of a backbone to be able to last in a very vocal and loud season. I just don't think it would have worked.
yeah, that's understandable. So Jay leaves and it becomes Nikki versus the house. It seemed like it took no time. Was it just the pranks? Was it your demeanor? What was it that rubbed the girls the wrong way that led to it being Nikki versus the house?
I think it was a combination of number one, like if I wanted to go and do something, I didn't care if three, two, or zero people wanted to come with me. I just was like, I'm gonna get my nails done. You want to go? Yes. No. See you later. Taking the car. So for me, we had two cars in the house, and we had seven of us in the house. So if I took the car, they were left with four people in the other vehicle, and that meant two other people had to stay home. So I wanted to do stuff during the day. I wanted to go out and about. I again didn't need a group of people to like there you could see me going on dates like by myself and like going out by myself. It was an opportunity to be in Los Angeles and really maximize and explore the city and maximize the experience because my plan was to move there after college anyway. So for me, I was like, I'm in LA, like I'm gonna explore on somebody else's dollar.
Right,
Um,
right,
I think that bothered them to a degree, and of course, I embellished and tried to make it so much more dramatic than it needed to be as far as like being annoying because I could.
right.
Um, and yeah, it was, a mix of boredom in there as well, because, going from working and going to school and not having that break ever to a 2 month hiatus of 3 month hiatus of life, I was going to have fun.
Yeah. Um, I could see their side, but I feel so bad for you, Nikki. I have to tell you, you are so strong. Like you thugged it out for real. And I thought at some point I was like, oh, this girl is gonna break. She's gonna break. But you stood your ground, you stayed, and you took on all of them. So I respect you so much. Um, you were the star to me of the season just because, like, I think that's what we watch Bad Girls for, the adversity that comes with the journey, and you handled it with grace. So like shout out you, because like it couldn't have been me. So let's just talk about it. It was you versus the house, but there was also an incident with the wallet, which or the clutch with you and Corey.
Totally.
Um, was that an accident? Was that intentional?
100%. Like they like, truth be told, despite it being like Bad Girls Club, they don't tolerate like intentional violence or maliciousness as far as like wanting to physically hurt somebody in any way, shape, or form. And
Right,
I've said before on a couple different podcasts, but the kind of clutch she had was this like, it's like an old, what the little button where it just it like opens up, and the side piece was a sharp metal edge. And earlier in the night, it got caught on like either my clothes or something to do with me, and I was like, oh shit, that's sharp. So when the same thing happened when it was like in the exchange, whether it was either yanked or pulled, I don't remember exactly, and I would honestly have to go back and look. That caught her hand in that moment because of how she was holding on to it. If I had done that in a malicious way, shape, or form, number one, I would tell myself. Number two, she would have they would have seen it. And number three, I would have in any way not been allowed to stay in that house. And the whole, of course I apologized to her after and made sure that she was okay and stayed up and made sure, from the hospital, because I wanted to make sure I was up when she came home. But no, it wasn't, it was just an unfortunate act, like in that moment. Of course they left it on a cliffhanger though for a full week. So it looked like I'm out here cutting bitches with fucking purses. Like, come on in.
yeah. I mean,
What? Come
I,
on.
in getting to know you from the show, and even from what I see now, I don't think that that was intentional. I didn't think it was intentional then. I just like, this is another thing for them to hate her. But I'm like, I was so upset about that whole situation. But then we see Char step to you, the whole y'all in each other's face, the appreciate it.
I was just in my bed doing crosswords and she comes in and I'm like, bitch, what now? Like, go away.
But okay, so let's talk about it. You two are standing in each other's face. Y'all are staring each other down. Nikki, I have to ask you, why didn't you pummel Char?
Man, discipline and patience is a virtue. And for me, like when I realized like how the house was going to be, when it was one versus the rest, I knew at this point, like, oh, now it's a game. Now you're going to see what it's like to actually be successful and not go home. You can have as many house meetings as you want. Like, I was literally not going to go anywhere. I wasn't going to crack. I wasn't going to hit somebody first as far as what would get me, sent home. I wasn't going to do any of that. So at that point, when it was me versus the house, I already knew. I was like, this is what it's going to be like. And that resilience just came from, sports. And, I had a lot on my plate as a kid. I played a lot of sports competitively, two different travel teams for both lacrosse and soccer, varsity sports, so I dealt with a lot of personalities and a lot of different people, that they were not going to bother me, not one bit.
Yeah. So it was just a combination of all the things, right? It was you telling Sydney's boyfriend she sucked off another dude. It was the clutch situation. It was the pranks. Um, from that, with you and Shar, we see them throw your stuff in the pool and we see your camera be destroyed. Was the police call real? Like, what
Yeah,
was?
no. So here's the thing. I didn't call the police because I was like legitimately afraid to like be in the house with them at all. Um, in the real world, you touch my stuff. You violated my stuff. You put your hands on things that didn't belong to you. So I'm going to call the police and you're going to pay me back for all of that. So I did. And every single one of them the next week paid me back. And they all gave me a portion of the money towards my stuff that was in the pool. Wasn't anything that I actually really needed. No, it was clothes. Like I could just buy more, it was like one of those things. My wallet was safe. Even the camera I hadn't even used yet. So I was like, whatever. But the wallet was the only thing that I kept, and I knew that they would ultimately pay me back, and it was fine. And that was it.
Okay. So Ashley arrives. Ashley arrives, and what were your thoughts? You're on the outs with the other ladies. Ashley comes. Did you guys connect when she arrived? Did you see this as an ally? Just give me your thoughts.
Immediate thought was I will be nice to her, but 100% she is not going to side with the person who is the entire house is against. I already knew. I knew from the start. It just wasn't going to go that way. There was no point of me getting to know her. There was no point of me sitting there being like, oh my God, I get along with you too. And like work on this fake ass friendship to make her like me. When in reality, as soon as the other girls get in her ear, it was done. So it was hi, it was bye, it was nice to meet you. I like you. We're going to keep it neutral, keep moving. And she fell right into the trap of exactly that. So I didn't give a shit, really.
Okay. And so let's talk about Ashley and her friends versus the house. That night seemed crazy. Tell me what you remember from that night and
I
who
was
did you side with? Who you thought was in the wrong?
I actually think I was sober that night. I think I was the one driving, and if I wasn't the one driving, I think I either just drank very little. Um, and it didn't actually directly involve me. It was because it was like Lauren and Ashley and Corey started mouthing off to one another, and when that started happening, I knew I had to get in the middle of Lauren and make sure it was not going to go anywhere because whatever. Um, was it the only thing that was wrong, I think, in my eyes, was that you're new in the house and you're having a bunch of fucking people over. We don't know you.
Right.
It would be different if we left and Jessica was the one that had somebody in, or Char was the one that had 10 friends over. You didn't know them, and you're trying to claim them as you're friends with them. You're not. You did that because you wanted to have more allies in the house. That's not even their house. So that's what I think the real issue was. It came down to like turf rules. Don't cross this line.
I'm I'm not gonna lie, I was here for Ashley putting her foot down. Although Lauren is one of my favorites. Like I
Hey,
love
Lauren,
Kentucky back then.
my
Like
brother too.
Kentucky is my fave. You and Kentucky were everything.
I still talk to her.
But
I actually talk to her as much as I talk to Jen. Those are my two people.
really,
Yeah,
okay. I love that because y'all friendship just seems so real.
it was.
And I
Even
hate that in the beginning she was sitting up on the Char and Corey and them, and then she had to come over. But I really wish the entire time it just could have been y'all because
I think
y'all
about that
ran
too.
that house.
Maybe we just need our own show, like Nicole
Yes.
Richie and Paris Hilton.
Because it was everything like you two, and then the fact that y'all were complete opposites, but it
Totally.
just
Most
yeah,
of my friends are like, it's weird. Like most of my really good friends, to a degree, have been or like, or at one point in my life, we're totally opposite. It's just yeah. I mean, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of Nickies. That's boring.
right. Opposites attract. They say
Yeah.
opposites attract. So the whole Ashley versus the friends, y'all speak to the cops. The cops let y'all know that if y'all press charges on them, then Ashley can press charges back, right? So that cop scene was real.
Yes.
And whose idea was it to take the cops to go see Jessica hammered out of her mind and she was unresponsive? I'm like, y'all could have got Jessica locked up for being drunk.
I have no idea.
Do you remember that scene of them trying to wake Jessica up and the cops trying to talk to Jessica?
I do now that you say it, but I didn't until this moment. Yeah, who the fuck? Why would you do that? Like, let
I
her
think
just.
it was Corey and Char. It was Corey and Char.
Of course, it would be.
Yeah.
Here's what
Um,
done. Uncle Bernie is just like, like,
right. So Sydney comes back. You guys go to San Francisco. Ashley's on the supposed outs, but Sydney is talking to her. That causes an issue with Char. And then we see Sydney just leave in the middle of the night in San Francisco. How did you feel about Sydney leaving? Or did you even feel a way about Sydney leaving?
um, again, I knew it for the greater good of the show, it would have been better. So it didn't matter. I knew in the moment her leaving the way she did, was because she was not only leaving again, or not only leaving, but she was leaving again for the second time. So, you know, for somebody who wanted to leave in the middle of the night, you clearly didn't want people to see you. So don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you.
But do you think it was she didn't want people to see her because she knows somebody might try to send her out with an ass whooping, or?
I think that it was more of like she didn't want to have to be asked questions and held accountable to why she's leaving again. I don't think it was fear of getting mollywopped, as Char would say.
We just know Shaw ain't doing the molly whopping. I can say that much. Um,
Second star.
I was interested in Sydney, and I was interested to see what Sydney could have gave the season. She had an aesthetic of a bad girl, but she didn't really give bad. I don't know, like, cause just screwing
Like,
guys that's not your guy, that's not bad, you
it was
know?
like stage fright she got. I don't know. People want to be bad until they're on camera, and it's like, hey, now all your skeletons are going to show. You cool with that? And they're like, no. Listen, if you hold yourself to a certain standard or to a degree of professionalism, if you will, and you're not ashamed of your past, or you don't have things that could bring you down, you're not going to be like weird about it. You know, even in the history of bad girls, the people that always leave are the ones that have skeletons in their closet. They're like, oh shit, I'm on TV now. It's going to come out. Obviously, Tom from Vanderpump Rules, like, it's going to come out.
Right, right. So, do you think so? I know that, and we're gonna use allegedly. Do you think withdrawals was the reason of Sydney leaving?
I don't, honestly. Like, I don't know. I feel like people want it, like, sometimes that you don't need a reason for things. Somebody just wanted to go home because they missed their fucking house. Okay.
Right,
I get it.
right.
Get a damn good night of sleep. I understand. I've said it before, and I didn't even know that this was a potential even then. You know, and if it was, so be it. But I don't feel that it was. I do think that there was just a severe sense of homesickness. I do know that she had other stuff going on in her personal life. And also at the end of the day, what happened with her and that dude and her boyfriend, like, that's embarrassing. You got caught. Okay. So I'd want to go home too if that was some shade on me.
So everything that happened on the show was real. There was nothing scripted about the show, right? So that was her real man. That was her boyfriend.
That's what she said.
Okay. So now let's talk about you and Lauren versus Char. That was a night where we saw you all go out. And you and Lauren put a plan into motion, like, look, we gonna do this, we gonna go at it with Char. Talk about those moments of you and Lauren versus Char. Like, was it to push Char out? Was it just to press her buttons? Was it to annoy her? What was the beef?
Push her buttons. We knew she wasn't gonna go home. It was more to just push her buttons, and if it was fun when you can get a rise out of somebody when you're bored. You don't understand how bored we were, man. Like, we couldn't do shit. Okay, like, we were in this house. We couldn't go outside of our house at night after 11 p.m. because the neighbors had called because of a noise ordinance every single night, even though we weren't outside. So, like, we were bored, and there's only so many things you can do in your house. So we knew, it was a short lived. It was fun.
I'm glad you brought that up because there was some controversy with the neighbors in Sherman Oaks regarding noise and swearing. How many times did cops come for those issues?
Like, once, maybe. Like, we didn't, and we also didn't even, like, aside from the Ashley night, I couldn't tell you that they came. If anything, production must have met them at the driveway and whatever, but we weren't loud. Like, if we didn't go outside, we really didn't do anything.
One thing I will say is you guys had one of the better mansions. Y'all's house was huge.
It was great.
Like, it was amazing. Like, overlooking the cliff like that with the bad girl sign. Like, y'all had an amazing house. But it was dirty. Who was cleaning the house?
Bro, I cleaned up all my, I actually used the other bathroom downstairs by the pool, because I didn't want to, they were gross. I also didn't trust them with my stuff ever.
Right.
So.
So